Stephen "Stick" Myers reached for the phone, but stopped short. His eyes were fixed on the silver buttons that each displayed a dark, grimy number. Those keys would, if pushed in the right sequence, connect him with his wife. She would answer in a panic, asking if he were all right, where he went. He would calm her, like he always did, using his casual charm and dark humor to make her forget all the fights that had led up to this point. But then he would have to answer the questions. He sighed and lowered his hand. There were a few things in the world that Stephen wanted more than to tell Dina the truth, but he knew he couldn't. There wasn't enough time to explain everything, and he would only get one shot at this. Outside the phone booth, Stephen heard the rest of Unknown Oath coming out of the gas station. Gate, Stephen's bassist and best friend, was laughing at something Ricky said, but when Stephen locked eyes with him through the phone booth's cracked glass, the gap-toothed smile quickly faded from Gate's face. Ricky and Jeff kept on chuckling as they continued to the band's van, but Gate broke off toward the phone booth as if he were going to the gallows. "No dice, Stick?" Stephen stepped out of the booth, jiggling the broken door that wouldn't fold back closed, kicking it in frustration. He jammed his hands into his pockets to keep himself from punching it as well. Yet it didn't calm the violent tension rising within him there in that parking lot. Gate sighed, reaching up to tuck his long, bushy hair behind his ears. "Well, man, maybe it's better off. Like you said, we'll only get one shot at this, and the European scene is where it's all happening. Dina would just try to stop you." Stephen let out his own sigh, leaning back to look up into the clear sky. Thousands of stars. The entire world waited for him. This was his time. He felt a cool breeze blow through his thick hair, brushing the back of his denim jacket covered in heavy metal patches. "I know we have to do this," he said. "We've come this far. I just can't stop thinking of being that guy." Stephen straightened, giving Gate a level gaze, looking for anything in his friend's eyes to convince him that he could stray from their course. "You know, that scumbag in the movies that bails on his family to chase some stupid dream?" Gate stepped forward. "Dude, this is not some stupid dream. You know how big this is. You, me, Ricky. Hell, even Jeff, who barely does shit for the band, we all started this. No one believed us, but we did it. And now, God damn it," he stepped forward to lay his heavy hand on Stephen's shoulder. "We gotta finish it, Stick, or we'll never forgive ourselves." Stephen nodded, knowing he wouldn't find any resistance from Gate. The dude was committed. There was a time when his old friend would have been the first one to find an excuse to get out of something. Up until the 1976 Chambers High Battle of the Bands, the only things Gate took seriously were tabletop role-playing games and toaster pastries. A lot had changed since then. The realization seemed to summon a chill breeze, and an eerie howl split the night's silence. Stephen felt his friend's hand pull back as if his shoulder had suddenly caught fire. Gate looked toward the black trees on the other side of the empty highway. "That may be our cue, Stick." Feeling a shiver creep up his spine, Stephen nodded and motioned to the van. "Like you said, man, we gotta see this thing through. It's not every day your band gets invited to tour Europe." Gate's laugh was a gentle roll of thunder. "Yeah, baby!" Stephen let out his own laugh, trying not to think of Dina or their 4-year-old son. Unknown Oath's rhythm section made their way back to their van, as Jeff finally got the junker to start. A rustle of leaves stopped Stephen short as he raised and planted one leather boot inside the van. "I'm telling you, man," Ricky was saying. "She'll probably follow us to the airport." A shadow took shape across the street from them, and Stephen felt his throat tighten. Icy daggers pinned his limbs in place, and he could only watch, frozen, as the widow took shape. "Who are you talking about?" Stephen asked Ricky, his body still and his eyes locked on the woman who stood sentinel on the edge of the woods. The mists began to gather around the widow, but her eyes were glowing orbs of white oblivion.